Hello and welcome back to SotonLock. You may remember back in video 16 I showed these four gym locker padlocks being opened. That's the Virgin Active, the LA Fitness, the NRG and the gym. And I showed how poor they were. I think I managed to open all four in under 10 minutes. So it got me thinking, if the gyms aren't providing good lockers, good padlocks for their lockers, is there anybody else out there who's making suitable padlocks to take to the gym? And one of the ones I kept on seeing around was this one. This is the Zhege. I think I'm pronouncing that properly. It was on Amazon. It was in the top 25 padlocks for a while. It probably still is. I haven't looked, to be honest with you. It was also very frequently shown on eBay, for sale on eBay, and it still is. I also saw it on quite a few websites in their top 10 padlocks or top 25 padlocks, and I'm also seeing it on YouTube in their top 25 gym locker padlocks. So I think the reason why people like this so much is it's easy to change the code. So this code is set to all zeros, as you can see, and normally you would pull the shackle up on a normal padlock. You would depress the shackle, change the code, push it back up and set it. But this one is a lot simpler. Underneath here is a plate, and you remove the plate by undoing a crosshead screw. The plate comes off, and when the plate comes off, it reveals this slide switch. So you slide the switch up, you set the code to what you want to. Let's set it to all the ones. You then push that back down, and you can now see it's set to all ones. We'll prove that it's set to all ones. Let's set it back to another code. As you can see, it's locked. We'll set it back to ones. And as you can see, we've changed the code. So I decided I'd have a go at trying to decode this, and it was a lot more difficult than I imagined. With normal padlocks, where the code interacts with the shackle, it's easy to use the pull method. But the centre of the wheels lines up with the centre of the padlock, so there's some mechanism up here that is preventing this shackle from being lifted. And as much as I tried putting a feeler gauge in. I couldn't decode it. So I did what I'd normally do, and I went to YouTube. I had a look to see if there's anybody able that could decode these, and nobody was. So I was a bit stuck. But I did find a gentleman who I found his website, and his website is called the Lockpickingcuber. And in video number 7 of his, titled "I Had to Destroy This $10 FortLocks Padlock to Get in It," he couldn't decode it. He had to get into it. I don't know if he jammed it open or whether he drilled these bits out, but he got into it. And whilst watching that video, he said something, or something happened, which made me think about how to get into this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to get into this type of lock. Now, I'm not going to use this lock because I've practiced with this lock pretty much every day, and it's a bit worn. And I can't really show you the technique, but I have got exactly the same lock with a longer shackle, and it's this one I shall show you the technique of how to get in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tidy up, and then we'll get back into this video. Before I show you how to open this type of lock, I wonder if you'd be so kind, if you have this type of lock and this method works for you, please let me know in the comments, and I'm interested to see if it works for anybody else. So I've discussed the fact that I couldn't get into this padlock, but I found a technique that would get me in. The same technique also gets me into this padlock, which is exactly the same padlock with a longer shackle. But whilst this technique was able to work on both these padlocks, I thought about the Lockpickingcuber and the fact that he couldn't get into a FortLocks padlock, which looks identical to these. So to prove the technique, I decided to buy a FortLocks padlock as well. So the technique that I'm going to show you works on all three of these locks. This was the first one I bought. As I say, it's a bit worn now, so I'm not expecting to get the results that I want to show you. So the first one we're going to try is this one. So currently, padlock is set to all zeros. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the change switch over. I am then going to get this towel and I am going to change the code. So I can't remember if I changed these. So I've changed the switch over. So I can now change the code. Let's change the code. That's the top wheel. That's the second wheel. That's the third wheel. And that's the bottom wheel. So they're all changed. And then I'm going to flip the switch and I'm going to change them all back different directions. So I've got absolutely no idea what is going on. So there's the switch back in the set position. There's the code, and we had it at 0, 0, 0. So let's first of all try that. So we're at 0, 0, 0, and the padlock won't open. So to aid me do this, I'm going to use this padlock. So I'm going to lock that around there. So now I've got something with I can use for a bit of tension, although it doesn't help a great deal. I've also got this thumb stool just to protect my thumb. So let me see how we get on. So what I'm looking for is I want to turn the wheels, and I'm looking for a slight bit of movement in the shackle. Just a slight bit of movement in the shackle. Let's see if we can get this to focus. And once I can feel that slight movement in the shackle, right, I found it then. So now what I'm looking for is I'm not looking, I'm listening. So I'm listening for something. Did you hear that double click? Once you hear that double click, you know that you're a little bit away from the code and you need to turn the wheel on 2 more. So let's do the same with this one. Click. Double click. So I think we need to do that. I felt a little bit of movement in the shackle then, so do the same thing. Click. 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 Maybe that one I did feel some movement, but I'm not confident about that one. Let's go to this one. Maybe a double click there. Let's go back to this one. There's a double click. Did you hear it? Let's go on to 8. Now go back to this one. There you go. And we got an open. So that's how I open these. So let's see if I can solve the Lockpickingcuber's problem, because he's had this video up for about a year now and he's not been able to decode it. So I'm going to open this one. This one is set to all zeros. I've taken the plate off, so let's stick this under the cover. For some reason, this isn't locking back up. That's because I didn't change the code wheel. I didn't set that wheel there, so let's go set this code back to zeros again. There you go. Now if I change that wheel over, scramble the code back up, so I've got absolutely no idea what the code is. And now, hopefully, so let's set the code to what we thought it was, which was all the zeros. There you go. It's difficult to see through the camera. So this is the code we had it at. As you can see, that's set back in there. And let's see if we can't decode this. So again, what I'm looking for is I'm looking for that initial movement in the shackle. I've just felt it there, I think. So let's see if we can't do this. Click, 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 click. Maybe a double click. Right, so definitely a double click on that one. So that's 7, so move it on to double clicked. I hope you heard that. Move it on to double click on that, I think. So move it on to, I think this one. Let's try this one. There you go, that's open. And that's how I decode this type of lock. So this type of decoding method works for the FortLocks. It works for the Zhege on the two that I've got. So I hope you enjoyed that. I wonder if you've got these padlocks, whether the same method works for you. I wonder if you could let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, and that's all I've got time for. Thank you.